All right, hello. Welcome to this week's Trade of the Week YouTube video. So I want to hop on here and just talk about an interesting trade that I took this week. You can see it is pulled up here, and the ticker symbol today is TME. So TME was an interesting looking stock. It came in, and this is what it looked like on Monday. So I was looking at it right here, and it looked like that, right? So it was out of what happened back here and starting a nice little uptrend. It was looking pretty good. Had a nice little pop going on here right below that 5-day on the close that day. So kind of looked cool. So I figured, all right, this is a cool one to watch. Now it opened up. I saw it, wasn't super interested in that. It looked pretty high up here and didn't get into it here, but I was like, okay, cool. So this is still setting up, could be interesting for an entry. And the next day, it put in this little itty bitty candle. And I thought, okay, this is cool. This looks like an entry candle, but I'd love to see it get above the 5-day EMA, right? This blue line right here. And sometimes that's a candlestick that I would take. Sometimes this is a candlestick that I would take. This week in particular, the S&P was sort of in a kind of in a holding pattern where it was stuck between two different areas. So I didn't want to get into it prematurely, kind of wanted to wait and see if I could get a little bit of confirmation, get a little bit better setup. So next day it started moving up really well. I got in at 1485. So I think what happened is it dropped down, started moving up. The S&P was doing all right. So I went ahead and got in. It looked pretty good. Gave me a nice little entry and closed up pretty well. Closed up at 1517. And I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. This is what it looked like yesterday. And yeah, looking pretty good, right? Decent little setup, decent little start, nice pop. So then today it is dropping like a rock. So um, that's not what we like to see, but nevertheless something very interesting. So I was not entirely shocked that it dropped this morning, and the reason is this down here. So this down here on Thinkorswim shows a dividend payment. Now there's a dividend payment of 13.7 cents per share. So almost 14 cents a share. Now, if you think about fundamental analysis, right? And trust me, this is related. Fundamental analysis basically looks at what's the intrinsic value or the value that the company should hold, and then the stock price is supposed to come from that value. Now, that value is made up of a whole bunch of different things. It's made up of sales. It's made up of things like you're looking at price to earnings ratios. You're looking at EBITDA. You're looking at growth rates. You're looking at all these different things. And one of those things that you look at is the cash that the company holds. Now, when a company pays dividends to its owners, to its shareholders, it will actually, take cash out of their cash reserves and pay it out to stockholders. So when dividends are set, when dividends are paid right here, right, then the company pays out that 14 cents per share. Um, and so, here that's actually a pretty decent little dividend yield, but they're paying that cash out of their reserves, and therefore they don't have the cash in the company anymore. So fundamental analysis and the ideas behind fundamental analysis would say, okay, if the company no longer has that cash, then their stock should drop because that value is no longer in the company. So it doesn't always work like that because fundamental analysis on its own doesn't quite predict what the market's going to do. It doesn't exactly say what's happening. Same as technical analysis on its own doesn't actually show us what's going to happen. So um, yeah, anyway, the stock will sometimes drop on dividends, and this time it did. So I wasn't shocked to see it drop a little bit. It dropped, 14, 15 cents right on the open. So it basically exactly what we'd expect. From there, it basically dropped like a rock. Now, it hit a stop out line for me, so not a huge deal, right? I had a stop out, got out, I think, right here at 1450 right here. So lost a little bit of money on it, not a big deal, right? I had an automatic trade set up where if it was below 1450, it would sell for me. And if it was up here at $16, it would sell for me as well on the profitable side. So not a huge deal, right? Take a little loss, move on to the next one. But very interesting trade to show that dividend. And what's interesting is the dividend is not what's causing this big drop, right? That is not what this is. This big drop, it started with the dividend, right? Right to here. And that to me is fine, right? It was still above its 5 days, still above its 10 days, still above the line that I've got on it. What happened here is that the S&P started to drop. So if I toggle over to the S&P and show what's going on here, S&P opened, kind of moved up a little bit, and then dropped below its 20-day exponential moving average and is dropping, at least right now, pretty significantly. So good little drop here on the S&P, and that is what's causing the drop on TME, right? So you can think about the overall market. The S&P kind of represents the overall market. You can think about the overall market sort of like tides on the ocean, right? If the market's going up, then all of the boats in the ocean are going to rise a little bit. If the market's going down, then all the boats are going to drop. So of course, it's not 100% that each and every stock will, but there's a pretty big correlation. In fact, when I was going through college to get my finance degree that I just graduated with, so that was cool. But when I was going through, there's actually a term, it's called beta, that stock analysts use to measure how much each individual stock moves based on what the overall market moves. It's called beta, kind of an interesting thing that, yeah, it's kind of, that rising tides raise ships, lowering tides sink ships. And in this case, right, the dropping market is sinking this particular trade. And yeah, it got me out for a little stop loss, which is not a big deal. Also does kind of point out, or does raise a good opportunity for me to point out that taking a stop loss right here at 1450 is actually really a good thing, right? Because now we're down here at 1420, so I'd be down another 30 cents per share, which I think would be like $6. Not a huge deal, but there's a reason that I put those in there because I don't want to keep losing. Also, if this wants to keep dropping, this could come down into 1310, right? This could come down into 1350. This could drop down to these areas where it would make sense for it to continue falling. And that's why stop losses are super important. And that's why I'm really not even worried about it when I do take a stop, because I know that, whether the stock moves up and it, sells me out for a profit, or if it moves down and hits my stop out line and sells me for a loss, either way is good, right? Either way, I've accomplished my goal in the stock because I accepted the right amount of risk for a good amount of reward. And I know that over time, doing that over and over and over again, I'll win big, I'll lose small, and I'll win in theory. And, it really tends to work. I'll win more often than I lose. So if I'm winning big, I'm winning more often, and I only lose small and I lose less often, then that's fine. That's how you make money over time as a trader. So yeah, kind of a cool little setup here. Kind of an interesting little trade to watch this week. So that's your stock of the week, little dividend analysis on it. And, hey, fundamentals make things drop for dividends. A little bit of, hey, stops are really cool. And here's why. And like, it's not a big deal if you take a loss, because then that the trade, you followed your trading rules. And as long as you follow your trading rules and you have a good trading plan, then like, that's how trading works. That's how you make money over time. So it's a pretty cool setup. Pretty neat little deal. So yeah, kind of fun to pop on here. Good to show you guys. Another interesting little thing is this dividend. I would have to look up the rules exactly, but um, there's a couple of different dates. So I don't think I'm gonna end up actually collecting this dividend payment. But if this would have kept going up today and then I would have stayed in for like another 3 days, I think I would have ended up getting paid that dividend as well, which is kind of cool, right? To I mean, in theory, right? Let's pretend today hadn't happened, right? And this kept going up, right? Market moved up. This decided to move up to like $16 over the next 4 or 5 days. I could have made that profit, and I would have kept the extra. What was it? 13.7. Yeah, 13.7 cents per share. On that dividend. So kind of a cool little deal. And dividend payments are really cool, especially for investing. I do like to collect dividends. So anyway, little tangent, but kind of a cool little trade I wanted to hop on here and show you guys this week. So hopefully you all have enjoyed your week and enjoy your weekend with your time off. Happy trading, guys.